Now, you're not going to make me walk a plank or anything.
No, not this time.
All right, great.
Thank you. When I first came up here from Key West, I didn't have any idea what I was coming into to Camden Harbor. And quite frankly, half the crew of the Western Union jumped ship and signed on the Appledore to go somewhere other than Key West again. And we figured, man, we can take a bus back home. It took all of about an hour and a half in town before we realized ain't none of us leaving to go home. We all stayed the rest of that season. At the end of the season, there was the Schooner Bum Talent Show. And we didn't know anything about it until the week before, so we were caught flat-footed, and I figured, well, rather than leave the boat unrepresented, I'd come over and do this thing that I do. And ran back over and did the sale we were doing that night, and found out that apparently we had won the talent show. So since then, it's become kind of a tradition for me to start it off with the sea slug cocktail. Down the dock with a swaggering walk came another salty lad. A hollow fid was in his hand, a sextant in his bag. From the placid Caribbean, where he'd made himself a name, he'd come to join the big rigs and sail the bounding main. Of spinnakers and bloopers and Cunninghams and such, he could tell you A to Z. He seemed to know as much as all those red pants yachties who will tell you of the storms they fought while sailing around the Sound in boats of frozen snot. But he claimed to know the gaffers. He could tell you throat from peak. He'd brought along his Ashleys and smeared tar upon his cheek. And so that day he stepped aboard the big rig salt-stained deck, his eagerness to take the helm was barely held in check. Now Wayno, the mate, was forward, and Dan, the bosun, was too, just sitting in the Rum Shark's lounge and knocking back a brew. I don't know, says Wayno, the mate, about our newest hand. He claims to be a schooner boy, but his boots is full of sand. He steps aboard and spins a yarn about all the rigs he's known, but let's see him in the Widowmaker when the hawse is full of foam. Let's send him aloft on a stormy night with his belly full of supper, and make him hand the topsail when there's fishes in the scupper. Methinks you're right, says Bosun Dan, and so I have a plan, with which tonight we'll prove the mettle of this man. You meet me here in the Rum Shark's lounge, and though our ways be rude, we'll make a proper schooner boy of this inland waters dude. Well, that night in the forecastle they assembled all the gang. The fun was fast and furious, and loud the hoochbirds sang. And amid the din of shanties and strumming of guitars, in walked the new recruit, the jaunty would-be tar. A yachting cap was on his head, topsiders on his feet. The boys all rose to greet him, and they offered him a seat. To the brotherhood before the mast, we welcome you, they roared. We knew that you were one of us the moment you stepped aboard. And so, continued Bosun Dan of the blushing new deckhand, we've assembled the elite of the schooner fleet, and they here before you stand. And just one thing would fill their hearts, one thing would bring them joy. They wish to make you, honored sir, a bona fide schooner boy. Now the same, some say, is one who sailed through a roaring waterspout. But most genuine authorities that definition doubt. And it's the general notion of this assemblage of renown that a schooner boy is one who drinks a sea slug cocktail down. A puzzled look crossed the new man's brow. I trust you do not tease. A cocktail, I understand, but what's this sea slug, please? Oh, we're not surprised, says Wayno the mate, the slug you do not know, for they cling to the keels of deep water ships and the seas where the big rigs go. They're soft and fat and pasty white and feed upon red lead and bottom slime and barnacles and stuff that's pumped from the head. A toughish yarn, laughed the new recruit, as well you may admit, but I'd like to see this little beast before I swallow it. 'Tis easy done, cried Bosun Dan. Ho, Cookie, haste and bring forth some pickled sea slugs of the vintage of last spring. The cook went into the galley and in the reefer found a jar of slimy sea slugs and sperm whale vomit drowned. She mixed the critters up in a shaker of squid secretion and handed the mixture to Wayno and Dan, who drank down the creation. The would-be schooner boy turned green, his face a ghostly pale. He bounded for the forepeak and headed for the rail, and there he pumped his bilges while the schooner boys made jest. And if you've read your service, then undoubtedly you've guessed that the sea slugs in those cocktails of such formidable size were just chunks of macaroni with red ink dots for eyes. But if you were a schooner boy, you'd know it was no sham. Those were bona fide sea slugs, no sweat for Wayno and Dan. For a schooner boy is forged in hell, he knows not little pains. His stomach's lined with iron, he has salt water in his veins.